All right, hallelujah. Once again, welcome back to our channel. And this is if this is the first time, I encourage you to subscribe so that you don't miss out on the future uploads. And today we shall be looking at the introduction to one of the apostles of Yahushua HaMashiach, and by the name of Bartholomew, or Bartholomew in Hebrew. And the reason why I want to introduce us to this apostle, this is from the Lost Acts of the Holy Apostles, just for the introduction, and then I'll be switching over to the Hebrew Israelite scriptures here. All right, this book right here, going straight into the Gospel of Bartholomew, but I'll actually do it using the digital version of the book, because I think it's going to be better quality. So let's switch over to that right now. All right, so this is the Gospel of Bartholomew, the digital version of it. And the reason why I want to introduce us to this apostle and this gospel is because a continuation of some of the things I wanted to share, as a follow-up to the most recent video from the Apocalypse of Baruch, where I talked about the fact that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was not an apple. There are some things we touched on in that video, and I want to share some additional scriptures that corroborate what we saw there, but I cannot get to those scriptures without first introducing you to Bartholomew, or the Gospel of Bartholomew, so that you understand. When we get to those particular scriptures, you'll understand where we're coming from. Because if I jump right in and show you the scriptures and you have not been introduced to the Gospel of Bartholomew or the Apostle Bartholomew, then you may be a little bit confused. So I want you to be very comfortable that you understand where we're coming from when we quote this apostle. And so today I'll not be getting into that segment that tells us more about the creation and all that, but I'll just introduce us to the Gospel of Bartholomew, and then we'll continue on another video to follow up on the things we discovered from the Apocalypse of Baruch, or the third Baruch. All right, so here let's start from the first chapter of let's start from the first chapter of the Gospel of Bartholomew. And as I mentioned, his name officially is Bartholomew. All right, so after the resurrection from the dead of our Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach, that's the name, Hebrew name of whom in English as Jesus the Messiah, Bartholomew or Bartholomew came unto Yahushua and questioned him, saying, Adonai, reveal unto me the mysteries of the heavens. Now this gospel comes right after the Gospel of Nicodemus. The book I showed you includes the books that were already in the Bible, and then additional scriptures like this one, which were excluded from the Bible under the pretext of canon by the Romans, and their main intention was to deceive the whole world. Okay, so we are bringing, as awakening Israelites, we are bringing those scriptures back, and in fulfillment of prophecy, looking at the amazing truths that corroborate and add to what we already know or have seen from the scriptures that were included in the Bible. Remember, Bible means biblio or library, and so they put 66 books in that library and kept some books out with a view of deceiving the whole world. And there are also other books that by the design of the Most High were not to be included or to be shared with everyone. And we see that in second Esdras chapter 14, where Esdras was told to hide some of those scriptures, some of those books, and they were to be given to the wise among the children of Israel, and the rest of them, they were to be revealed to the worthy and the unworthy. So actually most of the people who've been publishing Bibles are among the unworthy. Yeah, if you probably might have come across something called the Bible Destruction Group. Those are people who have been working on the Bible, coming up with all kinds of translations to cause confusion and hide the truth. So a lot of the people who've been actually in the Bible business are unworthy. Okay, so, and you can see that in many scriptures, including in the scriptures I alluded to in 2nd Ezra chapter 14. All right, so as I mentioned, this gospel comes after the Gospel of Nicodemus, and the Gospel of Nicodemus is much longer than this. This one is just 5 chapters. I think the Gospel of Nicodemus is about 29 chapters. I'll be introducing you to that some other time on some other videos, but for now let's focus on this shorter gospel because it will lead us to some truths, very interesting truths I want to show you in later chapters, which will be a follow-up to what we covered in the 3rd Baruch. Okay, so after the resurrection from the dead of our Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach, Bartimaeus or Bartholomew came unto Yahushua and questioned him, saying, Adonai, reveal unto me the mysteries of the heavens. Yahushua answered and said unto him, If I put off the body of the flesh, I shall not be able to tell them unto thee. But after that he had suffered and risen again, all the apostles, looking upon him, does not question him, because his countenance was not as it had been aforetime, but showed forth the fullness of power. So after the resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach, his countenance or his face or his facial appearance was beaming the power, the divine power of God in such an amazing way, and he looked different from the way he was before he died and resurrected. Okay, and that's amazing because when we talk about baptism, the baptisms, being immersed in the water and brought back out, it symbolizes the death and the resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach. And I can tell you that the day I was baptized in water, immersed in water, when I came out, I felt a newness, and I looked so different. I felt the power of God, and I looked so different, so much so that some of the people who knew me after, and did not know that I had been baptized that day, and I met them. They said, "Sir, you look different." Someone told me, "You look different." They didn't know that I had been baptized that very day. So it's very interesting to see that when Christ, or Yahushua HaMashiach, which means Yahushua, Yesu, I think in Swahili and Bantu we are safe, because there's a lot of controversy about the name Jesus. Now that people are waking up, some people try to make it a big deal, but anyway, Jesus, the Messiah, when he was when he was crucified and then died and rose again, his countenance changed, and that's very powerful. So Bartimaeus therefore drew near unto Yahushua and said, I have a word to speak unto thee. So we see that other apostles, they were kind of reluctant to ask him any questions, but Bartimaeus, or Bartholomew, being bold, he stepped up and told Yahushua that he had something to tell him. And Yahushua knew what was in Bartimaeus' heart, or what he wanted to ask. And Yahushua said to him, I know what thou art about to say. Say then what thou wilt, and I'll answer thee. And Bartimaeus said, Adonai, when thou wantest to be hanged upon the cross, I followed thee afar off, and saw thee hung upon the cross, and the angels coming down from heaven and worshipping thee. And when there came darkness, I beheld, and I saw thee, that thou wast vanished away from the cross. And I heard only a voice in the parts under the earth, and great wailing and gnashing of teeth on a sudden. Tell me, Adonai, whither wentest thou from the cross? Now this is very interesting, okay? And the reason why I have been prioritizing bringing these books that were hidden to you, the reason why I made it a priority instead of going to the books that were already in the Bible, because there is a lot actually to break down in those scriptures in the Bible, because we were deceived through the Eurocentric Roman Catholic Protestant Christianity. So we need to go straight in some of the scriptures there. But before that, it's always my joy to bring you these kind of scriptures that were not included in the quote-unquote Bible, because we find that they corroborate, or they add strength, or they add credence to the scriptures that were already in that Bible. All right, so that's why I enjoy bringing a lot of these scriptures that were hidden to you. And what we are learning here, based on what Bartimaeus or Bartholomew was telling Yahushua, we are learning that when Yahushua was hanged on the cross, okay, Bartimaeus or Bartholomew, as other apostles and the mother of Jesus and others, they followed from a distance to watch what would happen to Yahushua. And Bartimaeus says that he saw Yahushua hang upon the cross, and the angels coming down from heaven and worshipping Yahushua. So he was given an open vision, but Bartimaeus or Bartholomew was given an open vision to see what was going on, and he saw, in the physical, Yahushua was hanged on the cross, and then in the spirit, angels came down and worshipped Yahushua. And I know a lot of us, from the 10 tribes, from Africa, we don't have a lot of the controversies that I see here in Babylon, America, where people there are all kinds of controversies. Some people don't want to hear the name Jesus being used. Other people even say Jesus should not be worshipped. I don't know where they got that from, but we know that we are to worship him. And I think one of the most obvious, there are many scriptures anyway, but when he breaks the seals in the book of Revelation, we see Yahushua being worshipped, and that's one among many scriptures. Okay, so anybody who is coming against Christ being worshipped and all that, they have a problem. They need to sit down and be taught sound doctrine. But anyway, we see that Bartholomew was given an open vision, and in this vision he saw Christ hang on the cross, and holy angels, Malachim, the angels coming to worship the King of Kings. And then darkness came upon the earth, or from I think it was 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and at that time Bartholomew saw Yahushua vanish from the cross. So when it was dark, Christ was not on the cross. He went somewhere. All right, we'll see where he went. And Bartholomew had a voice in the lower parts of the earth, or under the earth, and there was great wailing and gnashing of teeth suddenly, meaning Christ went, he went under the earth, or he went to Sheol, or he went to hell, all right, to get the keys of death and Hades. Okay, so let's see the details of the encounter. So when he went, the angels of darkness who were wailing, when they saw him come, there was commotion. So let's see what happened. Okay, and Yahushua answered and said, "Blessed art thou, Bartholomew, my beloved, because thou sawest this mystery. And now will I tell thee all things whatsoever thou askest me. For when I vanished away from the cross, then went I down into Sheol." Okay, so Yahushua is explaining that when he vanished from the cross, when it was dark, when darkness came upon the earth, okay, after he gave up his ghost, all right, because when we look at the Gospels, when we say the Gospels, we automatically allude to the 4 quote-unquote Gospels in the Bible, which are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. When you look at the account of the crucifixion, we see that I think it is actually in Luke chapter 23, and then moving on to chapter 24 for one of the accounts, we see how Yahushua gave up the ghost, or he died, and then there was darkness. Okay, that darkness, under the cover of that darkness, he left the cross and went into Sheol, that I might bring up Adam and all them that were with him, according to the supplication of Michael, the great prince. So he went to hell to set the captives free, those who had been bound there, because all the patriarchs, the holy, the righteous patriarchs that had died before Christ, they sat in darkness. We will see that later on when I introduce you to the Gospel of Nicodemus. But the patriarchs are the ones who are alluded to as sitting in darkness, waiting, for almost 5,000 years, 6,000 years, for Christ to come after, shedding his blood for us on the cross. They were waiting for him to go and release them from the chains of darkness. Okay, because before that, death and Hades had power over them. So when Christ died on the cross and darkness came upon the earth, he went to Sheol. He went under the earth and got the keys of death and Hades and set free Adam and other patriarchs and the righteous that were bound there. Okay, that's what we are getting into here. And that had been in answer to the supplication of Michael. You see, Michael, who we saw in other scriptures that he intercedes for the children of Israel, he also intercedes for the righteous patriarchs that came before Jacob. Then said Bartholomew, Adonai, what was the voice which was heard? Because we see here that Bartholomew had a voice in a wailing, under the earth or in Sheol. Okay, so he asked Yahushua, what was that wailing about? Yahushua said unto him, Sheol said unto Belial. Now, who is Belial? Belial is the devil. Okay, Belial is another name for Satan. Okay, or you see that Belial in the English corruption of this word, but you see here Belial. Belial is that's the devil. And so Yahushua said unto him, Sheol or hell said unto Belial. So now you'll see Sheol or hell speaking, and this is in line with some of the things we learned from the Apocalypse of Baruch. What kind of things? Things that, like, if you remember from the Apocalypse of Baruch, we saw that the sun sees what goes on in the earth, and we saw that the sun does not countenance wickedness, meaning that the sun does not feel good to see wickedness, neither does the moon, neither do the holy angels, because you remember how we saw the holy angels would go back and lament, after watching of wicked people. In the same way, you'll find that entities that contemporary thinking we would not expect them to see or speak, you find them speaking. So you find Sheol or hell speaking. All right, but so if you're deeper in your knowledge of the scriptures, you know that that's not surprising now. So Yahushua said unto him, Sheol said unto Belial, as I perceive, Elohim cometh hither. So Sheol or hell saw Yahushua coming and warned Belial or the devil that, hey, Yahushua is coming. Okay, and the angels cried unto the powers, saying, remove your gates, ye princes, remove the everlasting doors, for behold, the King of glory cometh down. This is actually in line with the psalm, one of the psalms of David. Okay, and the psalm says, let the gates be lifted up. Okay, let the gates be lifted up, that the King of glory may come in. This is Psalms 24, all right, and verse 9. Okay, Psalms 24 on verse 9, and it says, lift up your heads, you gates, lift them up, you ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. Now, in that psalm, David was alluding to this very entry of Yahushua into Sheol. Okay, so the angels cried out and told the powers to open the gates, that the King of Glory may come into Sheol to do what? To release those that were bound there. Okay, Sheol said, look, you see the hell is talking, eh? Sheol said, who is the King of Glory that cometh down from heaven unto us? Now remember, when we looked at the Apocalypse of Baruch, we saw that creature that was very big and drank a lot of water. So Sheol or hell is like that. It's it's like it's a creature too. Okay, it's a creature. It's a creation. All right. Sheol is part of the creation, and the Most High created it for punishment. Okay, so do not be surprised when you see Sheol speaking. Okay, and so we see that Sheol said, who is the King of Glory that cometh down from heaven unto us? And remember, actually, David in Psalms 24, because by the time Christ was born, by the time Yahushua was born, David was dead. But before dying, David had already prophesied in Psalms 24. When you look at Psalms 24, it's David prophesying ahead of time how the King of Glory would go into hell and the gates would be opened so that he may come in and release the captives. So this is what we are seeing, the fulfillment of David's prophecy in Psalms 24. So Sheol said, who is the King of Glory that cometh down from heaven unto us? And when I had descended 500 steps, listen to this graphic description by Yahushua. When I had descended 500 steps, Sheol was troubled, saying, I hear the breathing of the Most High, and I cannot endure it. He cometh with great fragrance, and I cannot bear it. So when hell saw Yahushua coming, when Yahushua had taken 500 steps going down into Sheol, Sheol was troubled. Hell was troubled. And Sheol or hell began to say that it could hear the breath or the breathing of the Most High. Imagine, so Christ, as Yahushua said, he who has seen him has seen the Father. And when he was going down to hell was smelling or perceiving the breath of the Most High, and it could not endure it. So Yahushua was projecting the power of the Most High as he went down to hell to get the keys of death and Hades. He cometh with great fragrance, but Satan answered and said, submit not thyself, O Sheol, but be strong, for Elohim himself hath not descended upon the earth. So here we see Hashatan or Satan trying to tell hell or Sheol to resist Yahushua from coming to take over death and Hades. And he was trying to encourage, Satan was trying to encourage hell and telling hell that Elohim, the Most High himself, had not descended upon the earth. So Satan was trying to encourage hell not to submit to Yahushua. But when I had descended yet 500 steps, this is Yahushua talking, the angels and the powers cried out, take hold, remove the doors, for behold, the King of Glory, cometh down. And Sheol said, oh, woe unto me, for I hear the breath of Elohim. You see, now hell could smell the breath of Elohim, but Satan was trying to encourage hell to resist Yahushua. And Satan said unto Sheol, why affrightest thou me, Sheol? So Satan was telling hell, or asking hell, why are you frightening me? You know, hell was reporting to Satan that it can smell the breath, or it can hear the breath of Elohim. And then Satan was asking hell, why are you frightening me? He is a prophet, and he hath made himself like unto Elohim. This prophet we will take and bring him hither unto those that think to ascend into heaven. So Satan was telling hell that Yahushua is just a prophet, and that they are going to get him and put him there in hell, and you know, together with those who think that they'll ascend to heaven. Who are those? Those were the righteous patriarchs that were also awaiting for the coming of Christ, so that they could ascend out of darkness where they sat and ascend to heaven. But Satan, who had supplied the nails and the implements that were used to crucify Christ, was thinking that he had won. He thought now Christ is crucified, or Yahushua is crucified, he's dead, and he's going to be trapped in hell. Okay, that's what Satan thought. But Christ was coming in the resurrection power of Elohim, and he was not going to be captured in hell. He was going to overtake hell and get the keys of Hades and death and set the captives free. And Sheol said, which of the prophets is it? Show me. Is it Hanok, the scribe of righteousness? So now hell, or Sheol, was arguing back to the devil and asking him, so you're saying whoever is coming is just a prophet. So which prophet is he? Is he Enoch? Yeah, is he Enoch? The scribe of righteousness? And here you see another confirmation that Enoch was a scribe. Meaning what? Enoch wrote books. He was a scribe of righteousness. You see that? That's why the book of Enoch, the first book of Enoch, is legit, and the second book of Enoch, which is also called the book of the secrets of Enoch. All right, those two are legitimate books of Enoch. But Elohim hath not suffered him to come down upon the earth before the end of the 6,000 years. This is amazing. It's amazing. You see the discussion here, and I'm doing this as a kind of slow Bible study. This is what we call an expository Bible study, because you are meeting these scriptures for the first time. If I rush through just for the sake of an impressive fast reading, you're not gonna catch anything. That's why I'm taking time to belabor the points here, because this is what we call an expository Bible teaching. All right, so Sheol, or hell, was arguing with Satan and asking him, you're saying that it is just a prophet. Is it Enoch or Hanok, the scribe of righteousness? But Elohim hath not suffered him to come down upon the earth before the end of the 6,000 years. So what we see here, we see another allusion to the fact that Enoch, or Enoch, is one of the two witnesses that will come down in these last days. It is Enoch and Elijah. Now, some of the people, I saw one of the Mores the other day teaching that those witnesses will be Moses and Elijah. No, it is Enoch. The proper name is Hanok, the scribe of righteousness. Okay, and Sheol knew that he would come after 6,000 years. Sayest thou that it is Eliyahu? Do you see now the second one here is Elijah. Eliyahu is Elijah, the avenger. So the two witnesses that will come will be Hanok, the scribe of righteousness, and Eliyahu, or Elijah, the avenger. All right, but before he cometh not down, what shall I do? Whereas the destruction is of Elohim. For surely our end is at hand. for I have the number of 6,000 years in mine hands. So Sheol, or the grave, was crying in frustration and arguing with Satan, because hell, or Sheol, knew that the time had come for Yahushua to come down in hell and take the keys of death and Hades, or death and Sheol. But Satan was trying to encourage Sheol to resist Yahushua. Okay, now this 6,000 years, by the way, I don't want to digress so much, but later on when we look at the the Surat, or the Gospel of Nicodemus, I'll show you what that is referring to, because I know there is a little bit of a mix-up, but those about 6,000 years or 5,000 years plus something was a calculation from a particular time to the birth of Christ. Okay, so the Sheol, or hell, is saying, according to the math, time has already come for Yahushua to be born, and it must be him who is walking down the steps to Sheol, or to hell, to release the captives. So hell, or Sheol, knew the time had come, but Satan was trying to encourage Sheol to rebel. Be not troubled, make safe thy gates, and strengthen thy bars. Consider Elohim cometh not down upon the earth. So Satan was trying to encourage hell to strengthen the gates and the bars, because you see, the righteous Adam and other patriarchs, they were held in darkness, they were held in prison, so to speak, in hell. Okay, because there was no atonement sufficient to release them before Christ died. And now hell knew the time had come. According to the math, according to the calculations, hell knew it's time. Christ must have been born, and now he's coming down to release these people. But Satan was telling hell, strengthen the gates, strengthen the bars, and resist Yahushua. And verse 19 here, Sheol said unto him, these be no good words that I hear from thee. My belly is rent, and mine inward parts are pained. Now remember the creature we saw in the book of Baruch, the creature that drinks out of water. I told you hell is like that. If you see, hell is talking and it has a belly. It's like Leviathan, is a big creature, and it talks about its belly, and its inward parts. It's like having a tummy ache. It's like the symbolistic, the symbolism of the fish that swallowed Jonah, the Hanan, for 3 days. Is the same in this? That was symbolic of Christ, or Yahushua HaMashiach, being swallowed for 3 days into death. But this particular representation here shows hell talking, or Sheol talking, as a creature. And then it says it is, its inner parts are being pained and all that. It cannot be but that Elohim cometh hither. So Sheol, or hell, was sensing that whoever is coming down is Elohim. Alas, whither shall I flee before the face of the power of the great King? Suffer me to enter into thyself, for before thee was I formed. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now, now this is Satan very much afraid, and is telling, Sheol is talking to him. Okay, And Sheol, this is very interesting. This is, pay careful attention here. So Sheol is telling Satan that it was created before Satan. Note that. Note that. Note this. You know, the Most High is all-knowing. Look here. Sheol is asking Satan whether it can enter into Satan and escape from Elohim, the creator who is coming. And the reason it is giving is that before thee was I formed. So hell or Sheol is telling Satan, I was formed before thee. Okay? And when you go back to the account of creation, we see that's true. That, you know, when we see the beginning of creation, we see there was darkness and the waters hovering over the face of the deep. That deep is Sheol. And look, the Most High created Sheol before creating, the devil and others, because he knew ahead of time that Satan and some of the angels and some of the people would rebel. So hell was created ahead of them, because later on, okay, so God the Father is what we describe as self-existent, okay, and then there is the Spirit of the Father, and then we have God the Son. Okay, God the Son is the first creation. Okay, and then later on, when you look at what we discussed in the book of Jubilees, the angels were created first. You know, when it comes to the other groups of creations or creatures, the angels were created first. And later on in this Gospel of Bartholomew, you'll be seeing that Satan, Belial, was the first angel to be created. And that's actually where his problems, that's part of where his problems came from. His pride. Okay, that's where his pride came from. You understand? So when you see here Sheol telling Satan that it was formed, you see, formed versus creation. Okay, so Sheol was formed before Satan. All right, and then Satan was created before the other holy angels. He was the first one, then Michael. Okay, then did I enter in and scourged him and bound him, which now the narrator here is Christ, or Yahushua, and it's kind of very hard for us to switch those terminology. A lot of people are used to the word, Christ is the same as Yahushua HaMashiach. Yeah. Anyway, then did I enter in. So Yahushua entered into hell and scourged him, spanked him, and bound him. So we see hell is a creature, because Yahushua entered in and scourged him. Scourging is spanking. And bound him with chains that cannot be loosed, and brought forth thence all the patriarchs, and came again unto the cross. Hallelujah. So Yahushua went into Sheol, or he went into hell, okay, entered in, spanked him, and bound him with chains that cannot be loosed, and brought forth thence all the patriarchs, and came again unto the cross. So we see here that Yahushua went and he's scourged Sheol and the devil. They were defeated and bound. Okay, and then Yahushua came forth with the patriarchs. I told you the patriarchs were the ones who sat in darkness. And later on, when I take you to the Gospel of Nicodemus on another video, you'll see that, you'll see the beautiful story there. Okay? Bartimaeus said unto him, I saw thee again hanging upon the cross, and all the dead arising and worshipping thee, and going up again into their sepulchres. You hear that? So Bartimaeus or Bartholomew is now, this. Remember, this whole discussion was brought about by the question that Bartimaeus or Bartholomew asked Yahushua. Okay, and each one of them is telling their part of what they saw or what happened during the crucifixion, death, and resurrection of Christ. Okay, so don't lose track of what we are discussing here. I'm just about to wrap up here. So Bartimaeus said unto him, I saw thee again. Okay, again meaning what? First of all, he saw Christ disappear from the cross when it was dark. Okay, and then Christ says that time when he disappeared, or Hamashiach, when he disappeared from the cross, he went into Hades or Sheol and overcame Sheol and the devil, and bound them and beat them, and brought out the patriarchs who were bound there in death and in darkness, awaiting to be released by the Savior. And so after Christ released them from there, he came back to the cross. You see how amazing that is? So when darkness came upon the earth, where Christ was, or Jerusalem, Golgotha, where he was crucified, Christ vanished and went into Sheol or hell, scourged Sheol and the devil, released the patriarchs who were captives, brought them back out of the pit of hell, and took them heavenward, and then he came back on the cross. Why? Now remember from the video about Adam and Eve and the 7 or 10 heavens, we saw there is more than 3 heavens that we've always heard about. And later on I'll be showing you from the books of Enoch that the 3rd heaven that the average Christian who has read the Bible knows about, where Paul went, that's not the last heaven. The 3rd heaven is actually what we call paradise. Okay, that's where the righteous who die go, and that's why, and it's connected to the Garden of Eden, and you'll see that there's a connection here. So when Yahushua released the patriarchs from the pit of hell, they went up into the 3rd heaven, or quote unquote paradise. Okay, so I saw thee again hanging upon the cross, and all the dead arising and worshipping thee, and going up again into their sepulchres. Why, this is amazing. So Bartholomew, he saw the dead rise up and worship Christ, and then they went back into their sepulchres or graves. Tell me, Adonai, who was he whom the angels bear up in their hands, even that man that was very great of stature, and what spakest thou unto him that he sighed so sour? So Christ was seen by Bartholomew, speaking to a man of great stature who was carried by holy angels, and this man cried in a very sorrowful way. And Yahushua answered and said unto him, It was Adam, the first formed, for whose sake I came down from heaven upon earth. So remember, the first Adam brought sin into the world, but Christ, the spiritual Adam, came to bring redemption to the righteous. So Adam, the first Adam, felt guilty all those days when he sat in darkness. But when he saw Yahushua and knew that Yahushua had brought salvation, he was overcome with sorrowful joy, And Bartholomew saw that Adam was being carried by angels, but he was crying very sorrowfully. That sorrowful joy, And so Yahushua explains that he came down from heaven upon earth for the sake of Adam. Why? Because Adam had brought sin, right? And Christ brought salvation. And I said unto him, I was hung upon the cross for thee and for thy children's sake. And he, when he heard it, groaned and said, So was thy good pleasure, O Adonai. Again Bartholomew said, Adonai, I saw the angels ascending before Adam and singing praises. But one of the angels, which was very great above the rest, would not ascend up with them. And there was in his hand a sword of fire, and he was looking steadfastly upon thee only. And all the angels besought him that he would go up with them, but he would not. But when thou didst command him to go up, I beheld a flame of fire issuing out of his hands, and going even unto the city of Jerusalem. This is beautiful, and I know I'm interjecting a lot, but you have the scriptures here. That's why I wanted to use this kind of digital version that you can see very stable here, no shaking, no nothing. You can take your time, you can stop the video if you want and start the scriptures. This is not just a 5-minute video for views. This is for the scholarly, those who want to be scholars of scriptures. Okay, so that's why I'm taking time. But anyway, we see Bartholomew saying how he saw an angel who was very great than the rest, and he was reluctant to go up with them, and he was holding a flaming sword. Okay, and when the other angels urged him to go up to heaven with them, he refused, and he was steadfastly looking at Yahushua for directions. And then when he finally he was finally commanded by Yahushua to go, Bartholomew saw a flame coming out of his hands, out of that angel's hands, and that angel went unto the city of Jerusalem. So what happened when the angel went to the city of Jerusalem? And Yahushua said unto him, Blessed art thou, Bartholomew, my beloved, because thou sawest these mysteries. This was one of the angels of vengeance, which stand before my Father's throne, and this angel I sent, and this angel sent he unto me. So Bartholomew was asking Yahushua who that angel was that looked greater than the rest, and he was very fierce and holding a flaming sword. And Yahushua told him that that's one of the angels of vengeance that stands before the Father, Arvanu, or our Father in heaven, and that Arvanu had sent that angel to Yahushua. Now, when we look at the book of Sirach, the book of Sirach says there are some angels who are created for vengeance. Okay, there are some who are created for vengeance. All right, this comes from Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 39 verse 28. Let me read for you. Okay, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sour strokes. Sour strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. You hear that? There are angels who are created for vengeance. Okay? So when the heathen make their deceptive movies at Hollywood and other places, they portray the angels who punish people in hell as demons. Now, they're not demons. Of course, there are demons who play whatever role they play, but at the end, when Satan and the demons and the wicked are thrown into hell or the lake of fire, it is the angels of vengeance who will be punishing them, because even the demons themselves will be punished. It should not be demons punishing people and all that. The demons themselves, together with Satan and the fallen angels and the wicked people, they'll all be tormented by the angels of vengeance. And because angels are black, okay, whether fallen or the holy angels, their skin complexion, if you like, is like brass, burnt brass, which is brown or black. The wicked, they only portray what they call demons as black. They only portray the angels of vengeance, whom they wrongly call demons, as black. But go look for yourself, and I put up the scripture for you. Ecclesiasticus chapter 39 verse 28, or Sirach verse 99-28. They are angels, or they are spirits that be created for vengeance. And remember, what did the Most High say? Vengeance belongs unto me. So even when people do spooky, wicked things unto us, discrimination, slavery, oppression, whatever, we cannot punish them enough. But they'll face the wrath of the Most High through the spirits of vengeance, or the angels of vengeance. All right, so there'll be spirits that be created for vengeance. Okay, so this was one of the angels of vengeance which stand before my Father's throne, and this angel sent he unto me. So the Most High had sent an angel of vengeance to fight for Christ. So what did the angel of vengeance do? And for this cause, he would not ascend up, because he desired to destroy all the powers of the world. But when I commanded him to ascend up, there went a flame out of his hand and rent asunder the veil of the temple, and parted it in two pieces for a witness unto the children of Israel for my passion, because they crucified me. Hey. Do you hear that? We are learning that the reason why, one of the reasons why the veil between the holy place and the Holy of Holies was split into two, it was because of the wrath of the angel of vengeance that had been sent by the Most High to fight for Christ. And when he was denied the opportunity to destroy all the powers of the world, he vented his wrath by splitting the veil in the temple between the holy place and the Holy of Holies, splitting that veil into two. And that was to show the children of Israel, the passion. What is passion? Passion is strong and barely controllable emotions. Marakara, very strong wrath. Yeah, Marakara guy, the wrath of God was very strong. That the veil was split into two. Yeah, to release that passion, that fierce wrath. And the Most High was very angry with the children of Israel because they are the ones who had crucified Christ. They are the ones who crucified Yahushua. But the flame which thou sawest issuing out of his hands smote the house of the assembly of the Yahudim. The house of the assembly of the Yahudim is the Gath, where the Judites, tribe of Judah, for a testimony of me, wherein they crucified me. Now I wish we had gone through the Gospel of Nicodemus first, because you will see in greater details what happened when Yahushua was being crucified. It was Caiaphas and other high priests, those very religious, leaders. They are the ones who pushed Pilate for the crucifixion of Yahushua. Our own people, even today, by the way, even as we awaken today, you'll find that the same sects, the Pharisees, the Herodians, the Sadducees, all those groups that were there during the time of Yahushua, they are rising back up today. Just like it was then, it is now. And it was our own people. Just like even today, you'll see our people, one like me will share with them these kind of scriptures, but they will scoff at that and go listen to our oppressors, the Edomites. That's our people for you. Even Pilate told them, I'll show you in the book of Nicodemus, the Gospel of Nicodemus. Pilate told them, you people destroy your benefactors. That's our people for you. Yeah. Our people will be very impatient with these kind of scriptures that I'm sharing, but they want to go get their ears tickled by the lies of Edomites. That's our people for you. Okay? Anyway, so Christ had passion of very strong emotions of anger because of what the Yahudim, yeah? Yehuda is Judah. Yahudim is plural for Judah. Okay, those are the Jews anyway, the true Jews who are today called African Americans. So they are the ones who, the leaders, the religious leaders. They are the ones who push for the crucifixion of Christ. Yeah, they were just wicked and foolish. And when he had, but God turned around, what the enemy meant for evil, and made it for a good. In fact, when we look at the Gospel of Nicodemus, you'll find Satan saying that he has his own Yahudim. He has his own Jews whom he had incited to crucify Christ. Satan himself says that. And that's why here, when we were reading that Satan was telling hell to resist Yahushua, it lines up with what we see in the Gospel of Nicodemus. And for your information, Nicodemus is the leader of the Jews who came to Yahushua at night to ask him about salvation. So later on, he writes a whole 29 chapters of the Gospel, giving his account of the work of Yahushua. And that was written in Hebrew, just like this one. The so-called New Testament was written in Hebrew. Aramaic is Hebrew. Okay? It was not written in Greek. I'll show you that later on. And when he had that thus spoken, he said unto the apostles, tarry for me in this place, for today a sacrifice is offered in the Garden of Eden. So that very day, when Yahushua spoke these things to his apostles, remember this discussion is occurring after several days once Christ arose from the dead. Okay, so he and Bartholomew were recounting what happened on the day of crucifixion, which was already a couple days past. So at this very day, when he was talking to Bartholomew and other apostles, he told them that that evening there was going to be a sacrifice in the Garden of Eden. There is a connection between Israel and the Garden of Eden, but the Garden of Eden is hidden out of our natural physical sight. But when we go back to, when we are restored back to the promised land as the true Israelites, Eden will open back up again and we shall be able to access it, especially in the kingdom of the Father. I don't know during the millennium, but I know for sure during the millennium, the kingdom of the Father, it will be open. We shall be like Adam before he fell. Okay, we'll have that heavenly access to Garden of Eden. And so Yahushua was telling his apostles that he was going, that day when they were discussing, that there was going to be a sacrifice offered in the Garden of Eden. So let's see as we wrap up here. And Bartimaeus answered and said unto Yahushua, Adonai, what is the sacrifice which is offered in the Garden of Eden? And I know some of you are asking that very question, okay, when we read verse 28 here. And Yahushua said, there be souls of the righteous which today have departed out of the body and go unto the Garden of Eden. And unless I be there, they cannot enter. Hey, do you hear that? So, the souls of the righteous. Remember, I told you. Okay, now this is, that's why I'm sharing with you, because I have studied a lot of this stuff. I told you that the third heaven is paradise, and you probably might have heard somewhere else that the Garden of Eden is like paradise, or is paradise. So the third heaven is basically the Garden of Eden. Okay, so it's in heaven, so this is, it's kind of hard to explain to you, but there is a connection. There are portals, just like when I record the angels, like even tonight when I was recording the holy angels, when they go through their amazing protocol, they go back to heaven. They appear in a very amazing way in different directions. The first lead angel from the west, and then he goes back the same way. But most of the other holy angels, they appear from the east, and then they go slowly towards the west and vanish back to heaven. So there are portals. And even when Satan was being thrown out from heaven, he says that the Most High commanded the windows of heaven to be opened. Those windows are portals. So there are openings or windows or portals that connect heaven and earth. Okay, so when Adam fell, his connection to paradise, the third heaven, was cut off. The first heaven is our skies up here, is what we see up there when you look at the firmament. That's the first heaven. The second heaven up there, that is where, as we saw in the Apocalypse of Baruch, that is where some of the demons, evil spirits, and the wicked people who try to build the Tower of Babel, that's where they are kept, and they have been transformed to look like diverse kinds of animals. That's the second heaven. And then the third heaven is paradise, which is what you would call the Garden of Eden, and then on and on, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh heaven. And when Enoch went to heaven, the farthest he went together with the two angels that picked him up from his house, The farthest they went with him was the seventh heaven, and they left him there. And then another angel had come from the 10th heaven, where the Most High is, to pick him up and take him there. So there is some kind of a connection, an amazing connection between the 7th and the 10th heaven. And you may see some accounts that will tell you there are 7 heavens, and some say there is 3 heavens. That's the reason. Okay, some go up to 3rd heaven, which is paradise or the Garden of Eden. Some go up to the 7th heaven, which is somehow there's a staircase from the 7th heaven to the 10th heaven, where you can almost like see that. Anyway, let me finish up here, because it's kind of hard to rush this, because this is not your John 3:16 or other scriptures that you've been exposed to all these years. Okay, so the souls that have to be the sacrifice at the Garden of Eden basically talks about receiving the souls of the righteous. What does that mean? When the souls of the righteous depart from the earth and go to heaven, they are received in the 3rd heaven, which is paradise, the Garden of Eden, and they are received as a sacrifice, a blessed sacrifice, not a devilish sacrifice. You see, Satan, and the wicked, they counterfeit the righteous things of God. They pervert. So when they do human sacrifice, it's a wicked version. This sacrifice here that is being done is not the way Satan human sacrifice is done. This is different. This is receiving. This is receiving the souls, going back to the Maker. Satanic sacrifice is killing people to steal their souls, but the sacrifice in the Garden of Eden is simply receiving the souls of the righteous that depart from their bodies, because the bodies are made of earth, dirt. They are left on earth, but the souls and the spirit got back to the Maker in heaven, and they are received in the Garden of Eden, which is the 3rd heaven. And if Yahushua is not there, those souls will not be allowed to enter the 3rd heaven or the Garden of Eden. And Bartimaeus said, Adonai, how many souls depart out of the world daily? Listen to this. Yahushua saith unto him, 30,000. We are talking about the souls of those that depart at that time. Bartimaeus said unto him, Adonai, when thou wast with us teaching the world, didst thou receive the sacrifices in the Garden of Eden? So they were asking him all this time for 33 years when you were with us and ministering. Were you also receiving those sacrifices at the Garden of Eden, because you said the souls of the righteous cannot enter into the Garden of Eden unless you are there? And Yahushua said what? Yahushua answered and said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, my beloved, that I both taught the word with you and continually sat with my Father and received the sacrifices in the Garden of Eden every day. Do you hear that? So Yahushua is saying each of the days when he was on earth with the apostles and his family and all that, he would teach them on earth, do all the exploits we read in the Gospels, and these are the scriptures that are being revealed now. And then in a particular time in the course of the day, he would also go in the spirit and be at the Garden of Eden to receive the souls of the righteous returning to the Most High. Bartimaeus answered and said unto him, Adonai, if 30,000 souls depart out of the world every day, how many souls out of them are found righteous? By the way, a soul in Hebrew is called nephesh. Nephesh. And in Swahili, nafsi. Alright? So, anyway, if 30,000 souls depart out of the world every day, how many souls out of them are found righteous? Yahushua said unto him, Hardly 53, my beloved. Out of 30,000, only 53 are found righteous. Now, I know our friend Reinhard Bonnke did his Eurocentric crusades, and many other preachers from America and around the world, the mega crusades, and they have what you call mega churches and all that. And I mentioned Reinhard Bonnke because he was saying plundering hell to populate heaven. But if you, in fact, even without going to the book of Esdras in the Apocrypha, you know very well that in the Gospels themselves, we see that the scriptures say that narrow is the path that leads to life, and wide is the path that leads to destruction. Let me read for you, because that contradicts what Bonnke was talking about. Bonnke was saying that one day Satan is going to be sitting in hell all alone, while everybody else is going to be sitting in heaven with Yahushua. That's not accurate. Okay, more people will perish than will be saved. Well, that may not sound very exciting, because God is not a Democrat. He's not about democracy. He's not about just the majority. The way, if you look at the Apocrypha, the book of 2nd Esdras, you'll find that the Most High compares it with preciousness of gold. Esdras was being given an analogy, and he was told, when you look at earth, soil is very plenty. But then when you look at the minerals, you look at what are the minerals? There is the most common ones. There is bronze, there is copper, and gold, for instance. Out of those three, which is the most precious? Gold is the most precious. Okay, if you compare the amounts of gold, silver, bronze, and soil, the more they decrease in value, the more abundant they become. So we see in the book of Esdras that fewer people like gold will be saved, and the rest, majority, like dirt, will perish, unfortunately. That's why Yahushua was saying we need to strive to enter through the narrow door. And this is it in Matthew 7 verse 13 and 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. Many enter through what? Many enter through the wide road that leads to destruction. Look at the people who go to church, for instance, even using that as a very simplistic assessment. Fewer people go after God than those who go after the world. Entertainment. I was learning something very important, very interesting about entertainment today. That to entertain means to amuse. Okay, people think about it in terms of amusing or making happy, but there's another very tricky meaning of entertainment. Okay, what happens when you entertain a guest? You receive them you receive the guests in your house. Okay, you feed them and you give them a place to abode, right? Something like that. Now, in the same way, when people go for entertainment, movies, world music, what are they doing? They are entertaining. They're being entertained. Okay, meaning that the wicked spirits in those movies or world music capture them. They host them, just like you host a guest. Those wicked spirits will capture the people who participate in those worldly stuff, and at the same time the people themselves will also be receiving those spirits and hosting them. You understand? So entertainment is a trap. Worldly entertainment, devilish entertainment is a trap, is a snare, and that's what happened most recently in that Travis Scott Astroworld performance in Houston, Texas, where hundreds of people died being quote-unquote entertained, being captured by demons, and also they themselves getting demons into their own lives. So what is that about? The wide road that leads to destruction. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. That is Matthew 7:13 and 14. Only a few people find the path and the gate that leads to life. Only a few people who go through this whole teaching. Some 5-10 minutes out. But yet, on the other end, they will expect Christ or Yahushua or the Most High to receive them in heaven. You know, so it's not. By the way, a lot of blame for that goes to the great delusion Roman Catholic Protestant Christianity, because they have deceived the whole world. Christ came for everybody. Come as you are, even if you are LB, whatever, ABCDQ, LGBT, whatever you, Christ loves. All those, they have really, what did they do? They became what we call seeker friendly. Yeah, the church became so worldly, and the world so churchy. They used to say you could not tell the difference. Okay, so people lowered the bar so much. They were told God loves everybody, and all that. All those were lies of the enemy. To people were told they don't need to follow the laws, such as the commandments. All those were lies of the devil, and it sounded very attractive. That's why when we share some of the truths we are sharing now, a lot of people, in fact some of the people leading the rebellion, are pastors, because they have been you know what happens is that when you listen to, the Bible says faith comes by hearing. So when someone listens to those kind of teachings and even reaches a point where they themselves are teaching those things, it becomes very difficult for them to climb down, because now their taste buds or their discernment is watered down, and they cannot receive anything else. That's why a lot of people think what we are teaching now is heretic or is crazy and all, because they have already been trained to digest and enjoy those other tastes, the Eurocentric, you know, seeker-friendly stuff, you know. So that's why they find it very difficult to receive these truths, and these truths were selectively kept out of the Bible, because if people had been exposed to these truths, okay, they wouldn't have really approached Christianity differently. They would have approached things of God differently. But these people selectively removed the books of Enoch and these kind of Gospels of Nicodemus, the Gospel of Bartholomew, Apocrypha between Malachi and Matthew. They removed all those books so that they could deceive the world, because if those books were in the Bible, they would be speaking plainly for themselves and people will not be deceived. And notice another thing. What do you know about the Catholic Church? They did not allow or encourage their people to read the Bible for themselves, because if the people read the Bible for themselves, they will not be deceived. But if they are relying on being told what is in the Bible, they will easily be deceived. And I challenge you, don't take what I'm telling you, just like that. Go study. That's why I told you, pause the video, read the scriptures for yourself. That's why I wanted to present you with this very stable format of the scriptures, so that you can read for yourself and see. So Matthew 7:13 and 14 corroborates what Yahushua is saying here, Yeah, there are only very few. Okay, only very few souls are counted righteous. If 30,000 souls depart out of the world every day, how many souls out of them are found righteous? Yahushua said unto him, hardly 53, my beloved. Hardly 50 and 3. Okay, there's something there. Again, Bartholomew said, and how do 3 only enter into the Garden of Eden? Yahushua said unto him, the 53 enter into the Garden of Eden, or are laid up in Abraham's bosom, but the others go into the place of the resurrection, for the 3 are not like unto the 50. So, and this they're putting in parentheses and all that, but the way I'm understanding it is that even out of the 53, only 3 go into the bosom of Abraham, and the rest go into the place of resurrection. So all the 53 are righteous, but then there are 3 that are most special out of those 50. And when you look at the Gospel of Nicodemus, you see that these souls that Yahushua released from Hades, or from Sheol, or from hell, when they came up to the Garden of Eden, they kind of passed. They were there for a little bit, but then they were taken to the place of resurrection. They only found Enoch, Eliyahu or Elijah, and the thief who was crucified with Christ but said kind words to Christ. Those are the 3 people that kind of stay in the Garden of Eden, quote unquote, permanently. The others, they pass through there, and then they are taken to the place of resurrection. And I'll be sharing another video to tell you what the name of the thief at the cross was. That's for another day. But it is, this is very interesting stuff here, and we see this more in the book of the Gospel of Nicodemus. But what we are seeing is that the sacrifice is a portion of the souls of the righteous that rise. 3 of them are selected as a special kind of what you could call award, just like the way they used to give us awards when we were in school. Number 1, 2, 3, we get awards or something like that. So the 3 get that kind of special treatment early on. Eventually we'll all be, those of us who make it will be, awarded based on what we did. But that's the kind of sacrifice anyway that is being alluded to here. Okay, it's not like the satanic kind of sacrifice. All right, but remember, narrow is the path that leads to life, and few be they that find it. And that's why we need to strive. If you want to be seeker friendly, that's why views are important, of course, when I upload videos. But I didn't start uploading for views. I only like views when I know people are watching these videos and studying them. Otherwise, you'll see wicked videos that have 43 million views or even more. But it's all depravity. What kind of views are those? Yeah, that is wide path that leads to destruction. Okay, so even with the groups, the Israelite groups, all right, having so many views and subscriptions is good if the group is teaching sound doctrine. But if they are teaching heretic, questionable stuff, then being a big camp and having a lot of numbers and views again is part of the wide path that leads to destruction. So we have to be very discerning, and we don't want to be misled by numbers, because wider is the path and the gate that lead to destruction. Okay, and views are good. I want more views, but for people who are receiving the truth. All right, and so wrapping it up here, Bartholomew said unto him, Adonai, how many souls above the number are born into the world daily. Yahushua said unto him, one soul only is born above the number of them that depart. So whatever number departs the earth, we have, when you look at birth and death, the most, the Yahushua was saying, when 30,000 depart, 30,001 are born. So that kind of math. Okay. Bartholomew said, how many other souls will depart out of the body every day? So that's another count. Yahushua said, verily I say unto thee, 12,800 fourscore and 3 souls depart out of the body every day. So look here, verse 32 and verse 34. Verse 32 is talking about departing out of the world every day. Verse 34 is talking of departing out of the body. Okay, so you go study that. It needs meditation to understand the difference. They are all departing back to the Maker, but in different ways. In different, you go meditate on that. How many are the souls we depart out of the body every day? Yahushua said, verily I say unto thee, 12,800 fourscore and 3 souls depart out of the body every day. And another thing, remember, there are certain things the Most High said will change in the last days. The population will increase, knowledge will increase, and all that. So these proportions may have changed, okay? Because you notice the population of the world has increased. There are certain things that would change towards the end. And so now the proportion has changed from probably what Most High was saying here through Christ. But we are not really to worry about splitting those kind of hairs. And when he had said this, he gave them the shalom and vanished away from them. Okay, that was one long chapter, but I wanted to introduce you to the Gospel of Bartholomew, and later on, when I move on, you'll find interesting connections between what we shall read in this Gospel of Bartholomew and what we saw in the Apocalypse of Baruch. And this is for the scholars with a beautiful taste to know the truth. Okay, there is no way I can just shorten this. I have to do so many videos, short videos, and you're going to lose the continuity in the process. And if you look at the average worthwhile teaching videos the Israelites do nowadays, some of them are 3-4 hours, I'm telling you. Okay, you listen to them when you're driving or multitasking and things like that. So I'm not stretching it too much when I make it 1 hour something. If you're interested, if you've reached this point in the video, you must be real. Okay. Those who are not into it, they might have dropped out. But I also do understand that some people have issues with bundles and all that, and if there's a way we can improve on that or help, I'll be more than happy to help anybody who is willing to interested in studying, but they have those kind of issues, genuine ones, a few people. Here in the West, a lot of people have Wi-Fi, so that's not an issue, but we will still share the word even to our people in Africa, and the Most High will open more and more ways for our people to be able to watch these videos. You can download it and watch it, where you don't have to struggle with the bundles and all that. If you download it, I think you'll be able to watch it without worrying about the bundles, the data bundles. Okay, I'm gonna kind of have to stop it here. It is an expository Bible study. It is slow, and that's the nature of it, because I cannot just rush through to make it short and then you don't understand. So it's a teaching, an expository teaching, and that's its nature. So I'm going to kind of have to stop here, and I hope you meditate on this and understand. So we see Bartholomew or Bartholomew talking to Yahushua and asking him what happened when he was on the cross. And then Bartholomew saw him depart from the cross, and then he heard some noise under the earth, and then Yahushua came back on the cross, and Bartholomew saw some of the departed patriarchs, coming back to life. All those things, very, very interesting here. And you're going to see even more spectacular stuff when we go into chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5. And with this, I'm going to say, Kwam Yisrael Baruch Adam Mishpachah Shalom, and I can say Shabbat Shalom, today being a Shabbat here. And may the Most High continue to open our eyes to enjoy these amazing scriptures that He's revealing to us. These were to be revealed to the wise among our people. And if you're staying with this, then you can count yourself as one of the wise and one of the chosen to enjoy and be blessed through these scriptures. Remember, narrow is the path and the gate that leads to life, and few be they that find it. And wide is the path that leads to destruction, and many be they that go through it and get destroyed. May that not be our portion. May our portion be going through the narrow door and narrow road that leads to life. Shabbat Shalom. Shalom Aleichem. Shabbat Shalom once again. Baruch atah Adonai. Please like and share this video and subscribe to the Bantu Hebrew Israelites Awakening channel for automatic notification of future uploads of videos. Shalom Aleichem. In this amazing book from Russia, painted within the Annunciation Cathedral. Back in the 15th century, the crucifixion, this icon of the crucifixion, shows Jesus with the white garment, dark-skinned, as the Bible describes in Revelation chapter 1 verse 14 and 15. The Israelites as well, dark-skinned, as we see in Jeremiah 14 verse 2, Lamentations 4:8, Job 30:30, all in King James Version, before it was
manipulated through translations. True Israelites, Negroes, Bantus, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Shalom Aleichem.